We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome in, everybody. We are live Sports by the Book here at the South Point Hotel and Casino. You can find us 7 days a week. Every morning, multiple hosts will be here for you. A sports betting show to give you updated odds, trends, streaks, and of course some betting tips. I'm Alex White alongside Kenny White. You can find us two every Monday through Wednesday here at 9 a.m. You're back on Fridays by yourself, and then Jeff Parles and myself are Saturday and Sunday. So we appreciate you all being here with us. Please jump in the chat. I'm going to try to stay on top of it today and check in with the live chat as we go. But happy Tuesday. Less than 2 weeks away until Super Bowl 59. Very exciting.
Yes, it is. You know, always this time of year. That's the 2 week buildup's great. You know, they used to go like alternate and have a 1 week and then a 2 week, then a 1 week, then a 2 week, and then finally they realized 2 weeks is so much better.
And then, of course, you have plenty of time to go through your prop packets, which here at the South Point, those will be completed by Friday. And there will be a Football Frenzy show that day, 3 p.m. So you can check that out with Chris Andrews and Jeff Parles and company. And they will go through some of those props. But each day they're adding more and more props here at the South Point. And we know that they are doing that all around Vegas. And now some of the national books already have a lot of Super Bowl props out.
Oh, I'm sure. You know, this used to be the, first, the William the Refrigerator Perry. Let's go back to history. And that was kind of one of the first props ever put up for a Super Bowl. This was 86, I think, the 86 Super Bowl, Chicago Bears. They were having an amazing season. They were a great team. And they were playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And William the Refrigerator Perry, the Caesar's Palace, put up 75-1 if he would score a touchdown or not. 75-1. It was bet down all the way to, I believe, 3-1 or 4-1 in that range.
Wow. And
there was not a no price. So everybody was taking the Fridge to score a touchdown. He was a great personality for the game. And when he was playing at that time, he was one of 3 players in the league that weighed over 300 pounds. That's it. There were only 3 guys that weighed over 300 pounds that year. He was one of them. They gave him the ball several times during the season for touchdowns, and it was a good prop to put up, but you should have put a no price up, I believe, and it was also, I think Vinny could tell us more about it, because I believe Vinny was at Caesars when it did happen.
Well, and Jimmy Vaccaro's involved in that, right?
No, Jimmy was probably downtown at Golden Nugget at that time, and then he moved to the Mirage, so I'm not sure if that was like that same period of time. But that was one of the first props put up, and it didn't go well. But after that, props took off. And I would say Kirk Brooks at the Imperial Palace started to put up the most props of anybody. Jay Cornegay was Kirk's assistant, and Jay was right there putting the props up. And then when Jay got the job at the Superbook, he really pushed that tradition where they probably had about 80 to 100 props up at Imperial Palace, and other books around town, probably had 20, 40, maybe 50. When the Westgate opened with Jay Cornegay, they started to put up 200 props, then 300 props, then 400 props. And then now it's just, everybody puts up 300-400 props on this game. The more, the better, and it is great. It's a great time for professional bettors because they're finding a lot of props that they want to target. And then there's just those ton of props for, the recreational bettor that they love to bet.
I am excited. And it used to be a huge event, right? At Westgate, when they would have their props and everybody would go down there to grab their packet. Was it Thursday or Friday?
It was Thursday. Wednesday night, the entire crew would go for pizza and beer and make their props right after work on Wednesday. And it took them about 3 or 4 hours. I'm sure they were already had a bunch set up. There's a ton of props that there's probably 150 to 200 props that are generic to you can fit to the point spread and the total in the game. And those are, easy to make. The tough ones are individual players, going over the individual players, and then all the cross-sport props, I think those take a lot of time.
Yes, they do.
And those usually didn't come up till the next week. So the Westgate guys were putting up mainly that 150 list of props that fit the game.
And you and I have gone through those cross sport and grabbed medians. I think last year they had one with Caitlin Clark, and they usually try and tie in different basketball games or other sports that are going on that day.
Yeah.
And you got to compare all the medians and do all that work. So it's work for the bettors for those as well.
Oh, it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work on both sides. So I like the cross sport props with the college basketball stuff because I'm keeping up with it. And I feel like when they put those props out, they're 5-6 days in advance. They don't know what the line on those games are yet. They've got a good idea because of KenPom, and that gives them a starting point. But I've got differences from KenPom, and I could have a total that could be 10, 15 points off. So I'll come up with good edges. It's not always going to be a winner, but I've always got the best of the number.
So next week we will be here at the desk Monday through Wednesday as normal, 9 to 10, and we'll have a different guest each day. I know Sammy P is going to join us one of the days and try and get different opinions of the Super Bowl coming up, and we will really dive into the prop bets and find our best edges. And I know you said yesterday, because you didn't really have a strong side, I do believe you like the over. You're leaning towards the over.
I made it 50.
Game?
I made it 50.
Oh, you're right there.
Your grandfather made it 57. So betting it over for him. And he's right on the number. He made it pick. I made Kansas City a half. So I was looking at a teaser, Philadelphia plus the points and over. And
now South Point is back to 1.5 on the Chiefs. Looks like the rest of the market is there as well. So we'll keep you updated and talk to Chris and Vinny and find out if somebody came in and made a pretty big bet on that too with the Eagles. But a lot of fun leading up to that. And we're going to continue to talk about the Super Bowl, give you our thoughts as we keep up with the current sports as well. So today we are going to do hockey and college basketball, go through all of those games as we always do. And then at about 9:40, we are going to talk about some college basketball futures because it's never too early to dive in here. So we have all of South Point's to win it all. And then I did grab some odds from BetMGM to make the Final Four, which I think will be very interesting as well. So starting off with, we should actually check our whiteboard. Let's check those whiteboards. So I was 1 and 2 on my 3 big bets and 1 and 1 on the pizza money bet. So Grambling 1x4. You had that one as well. I did get pretty lucky there. Caleb Lubb made a 3-pointer. beyond half court, 3-pointer to force overtime.
Really?
And then,
half court shot to go to overtime.
And behind the logo. So like we used to watch Caitlin Clark in front of that logo, behind the logo, other side. And Arizona just was on fire. They ended up winning that game by, I think, 8. Devils did not win either. They did fall to the Flyers.
Yeah, a loss for me. And I had UCLA. I thought that was a really good play. That was my best play of the day. I wrote down first. They win. They were up at half. They won the game by, I think, 6 or 7. Troy over 143.5. I thought was a really good play. They couldn't shoot. Neither team shot the ball well. The Grambling loss that we both had. The problem with Grambling is, again, I always talk about don't lay points with a bad team. And I broke one of my own rules, and that was one rule that I should be crossing that team off. Now, Grambling had a 15-point lead in the second half. They had a 7-point lead, a 9-point lead. Then they were up 7 with 12 seconds to go, and the other team made a layup to cut it to 5 or 4, cut it to 4. And it was so they were up 6. The other team makes a layup with 7 seconds left, I believe, cuts it to 4. Now they're covering. We get the ball out of bounds. Plenty of time for them to foul. We turn it over, and they shoot and miss a 3, and the game's over, and Grambling wins by 4. So bad team. Good team gets it into their best free throw shooter. He gets fouled. They make both free throws, and Grambling probably wins by 6, and we win that type of bet. That's why you don't bet bad teams. They couldn't hold a lead in the second half. They were up 15, 16 points at one point and couldn't hold on. Lamar went under 69-59, and we liked the Devils yesterday, but they failed us. Did not play well, and that's just sports. We had a good bet. I'm glad I played the puck line instead of laying the price on New Jersey.
Well, and I was thinking with the Devils, and I believe the term is kind of the fallen hero, right? When somebody gets hurt and everybody steps up. So when Markstrom got hurt, I mean, this wasn't Jake Allen's first game playing and jumping in, and they did win, and then maybe that only happens for like a game or two, right?
Yes.
And not putting it all on the goalie because they definitely looked flat. But
yeah, I may not have a big enough difference. Maybe I need to look at the goalies and take a little bit more off that. So.
Yeah, Markstrom has been playing really well. Checking in with the chat, a couple good mornings to us from Damien and Vicarious Vegas. So welcome in. And then Bob Custer just jumped in as well, as always, saying hello from Reno, Nevada. So
we have 8 games, though, today to turn it around in the pucks.
And quite a few differences here. So I am excited to break these down.
Carolina at the Rangers. South Point opened at $1.35. I think they're still right there at $1.35. You see great animation on our slap shot is good. And they are still $1.35 right now at the South Point. And that total 6 under -20.
So I mean, we do have a pretty big difference here. The Rangers -120 at home. And that is because we have a big difference between Carolina at home and on the road. So on the road, 11-11-3, but they are 6-2-2 in their last 10. The Rangers are starting to play better, though. They know they really need points. Still trying to make a push here to make it into the playoffs. 6-1-3 in their last 10, coming off of a loss here. 2 really good goalies, Anderson versus Shesterkin. So Carolina has won 2, though. So they are 2-0 so far this season against the Rangers. I think that leads us.
That's a motivation for us
to the Rangers.
Down 2-0 on the season series. Also, I like that Frederik Andersen's a really good goalie, but again, he's just coming back from injury. He's nowhere near midseason form, where that's where Shesterkin really is starting to get to. What
about the under in this one? We do have a difference here, 5.5 over 130.
Well, they're looking at 6 under -20, or is it 6 under -15 now? Still 6. It's 6 under. That's basically like 5.9. If we translate that into a decimal system, we have 5.7. It's just not a big enough difference. Especially, and again, I do that a lot in college basketball when I really like the side.
Yeah.
I try to make a case not to bet the total, because so many times in my life where I got a great side or a great total, and then I try to add the side in or the total with one or the other, and one wins and one loses, and you're like, geez, I knew, and the better one wins every time. Every time, it seems like. So that's why I try to, if I get a really good side, I think this is a very good side, plus $1.15 with the Rangers at home. You're taking a plus price with one of the best goalies in hockey in Shesterkin. I think it's a really good play. And you mentioned Carolina, average on the road. They're just an average road team.
Average on the road, very good at home. Yeah,
I don't want to bet the total. I'm passing. You can if you want.
No, I do. I agree with you. I like the Rangers there because you're right. If we go under 6, we have to lay the juice there. So
you're right. You're laying $1.20 as well. You take away your plus price on the Rangers in this one.
And we're pretty much betting on Shesterkin.
Can it go Panthers 3-2 tonight? Sure can. It, could be 3-1 Panthers, 4-0 Panthers. There, nothing's easy, and then nothing works out perfect. If it did, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I'd be, on a desert island or something. A tropical island with a drink in my hand and an umbrella in that drink, and just relaxing and maybe fishing that day.
Oh my gosh. So Nick just chimed in and just said there was a huge trade, 3-way trade, right, Ryan? And Rantanen just got traded to Carolina from Colorado. And there was another link in there as well. So I did forget about that little note as well. But I mean, they're going to take some time to mesh and.
Yeah. Where's this trade? I'm looking for the trade right now.
We got to get Ryan's mic set up over there.
How about the Cap sign Thompson to a 6-year extension? I remember when he was a Golden Knight. I'm not seeing the trade, but when did this happen? A couple days ago? Oh, okay. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it was a 3-team trade, basically facilitated by the Blackhawks, Avalanche, Blackhawks, Hurricanes. The Hurricanes required Taylor Hall, former MVP, and Mikko Rantanen because the Avalanche didn't want to pay him. And then the Avalanche acquired players from the Hurricanes. Let me get it for you.
I don't have my hockey book or the ratings here in front of me, but
will be interesting too. Because
as you said, that does give you a boost right away sometimes, but it does take time for those guys to, get that continuity of playing together. So it is the NHL, and they, there are so many shifts. They do play with a lot of other players a lot of time.
Yeah.
So they do break up those shifts every once in a while, and they work even in practice with different shifts. So. But again, I'm looking at, Anderson he was just activated from the injured list on the 17th. We're still just 11 days from him being activated. I'm really giving him a full rating that he's going to be as good as he normally would be. And I just don't think that's the case. So I still like the Rangers in this spot.
Rangers plus 115 for us in that one.
Chicago at Tampa, big favorite here. South Point opened up. The Lightning, 340. Bet up to 350 and 6.5 under 20. No movement on the total.
So the Lightning have been really good at home. 15-6-1 is their record. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. Chicago 2-5-3 in their last 10. They're 31st in goals for and 30th in goals allowed. That's a lot to say that we don't really have anything in this one because we're not quite as high at that 350. We have them.
What's the road record for Chicago?
Road record for Chicago is 5-15-3.
Yeah, that's a 3-1 right there. They're on a 7-game losing streak on the road. Yeah. So, wow, that record was a little better, but it's as of late they've been hammered. And Tampa's won 4 straight road games, so if we adjust that 55 cents, that takes us to 333. We're really, real close to what the number is.
Better plays, and we are right there, that's 6.5.
Yeah, nothing there, no trends. Boston at Buffalo this evening. The Sabres opened up a dime, no movement. 5.5 over a quarter has been bet up to 6 under 15.
Still really no one buying the Bruins because we've got a minus 127 on the road here in this one. No revenge. Boston won in Boston on December 21st, but I do like the Bruins side here. Jeremy Swayman playing better. They've won 2 in a row coming into this one. Let's see. Sabres in their last 10, 4-6. And the Bruins 5-5 in their last 10. Well, 5-3-2. So they did force overtime. So a lean to Boston.
How do you like that total? You have 6.75, meaning 6.5 over 35. And you
Wow.
can go over 6.
Yes, that is the play right there. They both have some over trends too. Well, we have Boston 3 overs in their road games, their last 3 road games.
Last 3 road games.
Buffalo just really hasn't been scoring like they were to start off the year, so that kind of makes me a little nervous there.
Well, there's one thing that I remembered at the beginning of the year. I said when the Buffalo Sabres opened over the pond that they had a lot of young, good players they brought in that were all really good defensive players and thought this could be a defensive hockey team. They didn't early on, and they're still, fairly high-scoring hockey team.
Yeah.
So your number is a lot higher than what the book number is. This game opened 5.5 over a quarter at Circa, which surprises me. Money came in right away on the over.
Right. Wish we could have got that 5.5.
Well, it would have been really nice to get 5.5 on the game. Yeah.
Medians do not say that, but that is when Boston was really struggling on the road. Their median goals just 2 and against 3, and Buffalo 3-3. But you're right, they're 15th in goals for. They're 29th in goals against Buffalo.
Who's that? Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have not played that type of defense. Young team, and that's what happens. So I would say it's an overplay over the 6, and we're, small play, 1% play. Winnipeg is at Montreal. This game here at the South Point, open Winnipeg $1.50. They're up to 55. 6 under 15, as you see there on the bottom of the screen.
Again, no revenge here. The Jets did win in Winnipeg December 14th. It is an overplay for us as well. Right there on the side, minus 155, but 6.5 is the total that I have. So 2 straight overs for the Jets, 1 for the Canadiens coming into this. They are playing some better hockey, 6-2-2 in their last 10. The Jets 7-2-1. The thing that scares me is Winnipeg is second in goals against. So
their road score is the median 4-3 for Winnipeg. For Montreal at home 3-3. That bodes well for the total. And there hasn't been anybody against you on this game. It's very close to being a play. It's really, you could say it is a 25 cent difference at minus 105. So
I think I like that over actually better than the last one, because looking at Montreal, they are tied for 13th in goals for and 26 in goals against, and you have the Jets. They're second in goals for.
Jets can score.
Yep.
Even with Hellebuck in goal. Again, on the road, their median score 4-3.
Yeah.
So I like it. Colorado is at the Islanders. They've been in New York a couple days now. They beat the Rangers, took a day off. Let me see here what they opened up. $1.55. Money for the Islanders down to $1.40. The total 6 over. Nope, make that 6 under 15, hasn't moved.
So now another team that was in that trade, and most of the guys were pretty shocked that trade did actually happen. But we've got Colorado minus 157, so a little bit higher here. Now there is revenge too, because the Avs did lose at home October 14th. So if you add that in as well, but then you have to cancel that out with the Islanders streak.
You have a 4-game winning streak by the Islanders. They're playing good hockey right now.
Little bit of a lean to the under here in this one, but it is 6 under minus 115.
Yeah.
So not enough there.
4 straight unders by the Islanders. Those games that they won all went under. Islanders and under. 4 straight parlays have hit.
So Broken is playing much better.
Doesn't happen again tonight. I think the Avalanche pull it out 3-2. I didn't see I don't know the length of this road trip.
Yeah.
And if they're going home after this game or not.
I would have to check that as well.
If you got a second to take a look at that, you might as well, because that's always an important factor. Because I like the home revenge. Even though the Islanders are on a 4-game winning streak, I think the Avalanche are better. They're a better hockey team, and they have that revenge factor. And maybe, sometimes those trades wake you up.
Right.
And you're getting rid of a good player. Maybe he wasn't doing well in the clubhouse, the locker room.
No, he was asking for a lot of money. He was asking for the same that Draisaitl was making.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he wasn't happy. You kind of get rid of the pain in the behind, and now you're probably the team's a lot happier team.
So this is the third of their road trip. So lost to the Bruins, beat the Rangers, and then now Islanders, and then they are back home.
Oh, they do go home. So it's only a 3-game road trip.
Yeah.
Okay, so They haven't been out East Coast long enough to say, can't wait to get home. I like a 6-game trip. If you're on a 6-game trip, that last game, you just can't wait to get home. You have nothing left in your body because, these guys are going out after the games as well. So if you got a 6-game road trip and you're going out after every game, you're pretty tired by the end of that 10 days.
I will just say what we talked about yesterday. The Islanders aren't going to take the Avs lightly. No. Right? And you know how we were saying, we beat you on your home ice. Yeah. This is going to be easy. They aren't going to take them lightly. So that does make the revenge a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it does. But I know that Colorado will be focused for this game because of that loss at home. They want to get that one back.
Yeah.
So they're the better team. I don't really want to lay it. That's $1.37. If it comes down a lot lower, I said $1.37, $1.40 here. And $1.37 is the best price I see. Actually, I see 33 at the Superbook. So if it got down to around $1.30, might be worth a play on Colorado.
Or if we could find a dance partner, which I think we might have one coming up here.
Oh, no, we may have a couple of those that you could, if you wanted to parlay those with, you could. Could be a small round robin. Washington is at Calgary. The Capitals open $1.45 down to $1.40. 5.5 over 15 is now 5.5 flat.
First game between these two, if you're going off of the vibe factor and how these teams are doing, the Caps won 6 in a row, but it says right here, 1 loss. Yep. They won 6 in a row before that one. So they are coming in playing very good. Logan Thompson, we keep talking about him. 22, 2, and 3 is his record. 2.09 goals
22, 2, and 3. I remember I asked you that when he was 18, 2, and 3, I believe. So he just continues to keep winning. Now, I always worry about, we just talked about, he just got a 6-year extension.
Yep. I was going to ask you about that.
that sometimes, he can't get his head through the door to get out of the locker room onto the ice maybe, and that might be a problem.
Or maybe it's everyone's a little bit of pressure, like, all right, now I have to live up to this.
Yeah, well, that is another thing, too, that they start to think about. You get that pressure built up now. But he's not at home. Usually that happens at home because you get that big contract and you give up a goal and they start booing you. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So that does happen in sports. I've seen it many times.
Well, and the only reason we aren't as high right here is because I am higher on Calgary at home, 15, 6, and 3 this year at home. So they've been really good there. So that's just, I guess we're staying away from that one as well.
Now, the total is interesting. The Capitals have gone under 9 straight games. They are now an under defensive hockey team. Calgary's gone over 3 straight. So I guess, with that 3 in a row over kind of, I don't use anything to the streaks, but you're slightly into the under.
Well, they are first right now in goals against, giving up an average of 2.37. So
that's because of Logan Thompson. That's why he's 22, 2, and 3.
Yes.
What a record.
Yeah, and his save percentage is .925. So.
Wow, yeah. That is a very high save percentage. That's off the charts. So right now, Logan Thompson playing as the best goalie in the NHL. All right, Dallas at Vegas tonight here at home. Golden Knights opened up. Small favorite here at the South Point, $1.15. It has been bet up to $1.20. The total 6 under 15. Do
really like this one. The Knights here at home, we have it minus 150. It will be Samsonov in net for VGK and Jake Ottinger on the other side. The Knights won at home. So both of these teams have won at home so far this year.
Okay.
No revenge for either side. But yeah, Vegas has won 2 of their last 3. So after their 4-game losing streak, they have started to figure it out here. So they'll be ready for this one against the Stars.
There's no doubt this, and always a big rival to the Golden Knights, even though they are in opposite divisions, but in the Western Conference, they're probably the biggest rival, I would think, out of the Central for the Golden Knights.
Well, they have the Knights' old coach,
and that too will get you to play harder. The Golden Knights will. Obviously, Dallas knows that they're going to play hard for their coach, but the Vegas Golden Knights have so many players that were here at that time. 3-6-1. They did win their last game. That was big. This is kind of the dead time of the year for hockey. You played 50 games and you got 30 left to go. Still 30.
Yeah.
till the playoffs. These teams are ready for the playoffs right now. If you said we've got 2 more weeks and you're playing 55 games, these teams would play hard for the next 5 games, but there's 30 games left to go. The Golden Knights are 1 point out of first place, though. They're 1 point behind Edmonton. So
that's because Edmonton won last night.
Yeah.
They keep flip-flopping there.
Yeah, so that's something else to look at, that they do need that win. Dallas is 8 points behind the Winnipeg Jets. So play on the Golden Knights. And the final game, Anaheim is at Seattle tonight. Seattle opened up $1.65 here at the South Point, down to $1.35. Total 6. I think Chris Andrews and team, they really like Seattle tonight here.
Well, that makes me feel better because ours is minus 175, but we do have to take into consideration they are playing on a back-to-back.
Seattle.
Yes.
I don't mind when they come home.
Okay.
They played last night. Who'd they play?
They played Edmonton.
So they played Edmonton. They fly back home. They slept in their own beds last night. They get a late start today. They don't have to get there early. They get some rest. They drive their own car to the game. I don't mind when they go road to home.
A lot of difference of opinions in this game, huh?
What is the season series?
Each one on each other's home ice.
Okay. That's good.
I don't know which one was the last one, though.
That's okay. They both won on their home ice. I just wanted to
No,
make
they
sure.
won on each other's.
Oh, on each other's.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Well, kind of makes a little bit of a big deal.
Oh, they
then.
played on back-to-back, too. Okay.
Did they?
Yeah, so November 25th in Anaheim, the Kraken won, and then the Ducks went back to Seattle and beat them.
Wow. Okay, so the last time they played was in Seattle, and Anaheim won the game.
Yep.
So that gives a little more focus to Seattle. They know they need, defend home ice. They didn't the last time they played Anaheim. So.
And they did have a nice 2-1 lead over Edmonton yesterday,
Yeah.
and then kind of just fell apart. And
Playing against a really good team on the road, so they were competitive.
another note I forgot was that Connor McDavid, thank you, had just come back from his 3-game suspension.
Right.
And he did score to get the lead there.
Okay. Well, you got a big difference there in Seattle, and it has, $1.35 here at the South Point. It's still the high number in the market. MGM actually has $1.40.
So who was our other? It's Seattle, Vegas, and who's that other favorite that
Rangers. The
Rangers is
Colorado Avalanche.
Colorado.
You were looking for a dance partner on a parlay with. I could see maybe parlaying the Avalanche to the Knights, parlaying the Avalanche to the Kraken, small. And I would still bet the Knights and the Kraken straight. You have a big enough difference on both of those that it's worth that.
And then
And
a
the
couple
Rangers.
totals as
Yeah.
well in there. So, all right, let's get to some college basketball so we can get to some futures here as well. See if we have any value for
I think
everybody.
there is some value. I found some value, so stay tuned. I've got a couple of long shots that I think can make the Sweet 16, and one team I think could make the Elite 8. And they're pretty high number right now on the betting board.
Very curious how many teams you think right now could actually win it all.
About 8, 10,
That's
8 to 10.
Oh, and we can't forget that Chris Andrews, Vinny, and everybody here behind the book put up a new prop for college basketball.
I did all that work. I did all the work, and I'll give you the number that
right.
I came up with.
And it is the SEC
See if there's
teams
see if
versus
there's
the
a play
field.
there on that prop.
All right.
Love the prop.
2 college basketball. We're starting out. There we go with our
Let's do college hoops.
animation. All right, we've got St. John's 4-point favorite on the road against Georgetown. 140 is the total.
These two played already this year in Madison Square Garden. St. John's won 63-58. Close game. Georgetown led at halftime. I bet Georgetown that day. I think that was one of the dogs of the day for punchlines. And as I've mentioned many times, I'm a big Ed Cooley fan. I think he's going to turn Georgetown around. I think you'll see Georgetown back in the tournament this year. And maybe next year or the year after, challenging to get, into the Sweet 16 or maybe the Elite 8. So St. John's much better team, though. Much better team. They did win both last year. They won the first game this year. Don't like to give revenge. I made the Johnnies 5.5. I believe that's right where they're at, about 4.5.
4 here.
And my total, 137.5. What's the total?
140.
140. I lean to the under. In this game, the first time they played, 63-58, St. John's wants to run. Georgetown wants to slow this down. It's easier to slow games down at home because on the road, you get a little sloppy sometimes, and the crowd gets you thinking where you're not supposed to be, and you turn the ball over, creating easy opportunities for that team that wants to run. I think at home, you control the ball better. You're more comfortable. You make the right pass. You have the focus. You run your offense. Both of these teams' defenses are far better than their offenses. So my numbers say no bet, but my thinking says this is worth a bet under.
I was going to ask you what you were going to do here with Rick Pitino versus Ed Cooley, because I know that you'd like both of those basketball coaches, but under 140 for...
Well, Georgetown 13-6 to the under.
To the under, okay.
Yeah, this
a
year.
nice trend there. Akron 15.5, 154.5.
I have them 19 and 147.5. Akron 7-0 in the conference, first place. Northern Illinois 1-6. Akron won both games last year, first time they played this year. Akron's just a better team. Not sure if, what their motivation would be to run this up, other than they're just very, very good offensively. They like to run, and Northern Illinois struggles to score. So I thought there was only one bet in this game. I don't want to bet the game under. My number says under. I made it 147.5. I don't want to bet it under because Akron could get up 20 early and force Northern Illinois to play faster, and it gets, just a crazy up-tempo game, and Akron ends up scoring in the mid-80s, and it's going to be hard to keep it under. But Northern Illinois is so bad offensively, I think it could still go under with them. So I went under in their team total. I didn't do that yet. I haven't had a chance to look for it. I'm going to look for it this afternoon.
Akron is the 18th quickest right now in the country. Revenge here, as long as they didn't play yet this year. But we've got Rice in South Florida. South Florida 6.5 and 141.5.
Yeah, Rice lost both games last year. These two have both struggled on the season. Rice is 2-5 in the conference. South Florida 3-4. But I like that revenge factor, and I would only make the game 3. Taking 5.5 or more with Rice is a small play for me. The total's right on
6.5 here at the South Point.
There's been money for South Florida this morning. Not sure why. They are the better team.
They've lost 4 of their last 5 games, though.
But Rice is the better defensive team.
Let's go to some MAC games here. We've got Western Michigan. Ball State is a 4.5-point favorite, 150.5.
These two split last year on each other's home court. 2 below average teams, really weak basketball teams. And Ball State's played the better schedule, second most difficult schedule in the conference, and they're 3-4. Western Michigan, 10th toughest schedule. They're 2-5. I made the game 6.5. I'm really not interested in laying points with a bad team in Ball State, though, and then my total's right there.
Kent State 12, 141 against Western Michigan.
This is a revenge game. Bowling Green lost at home last year to Kent State, then in the conference tournament. So kind of a double revenge type of situation. Bowling Green is looking up at Kent State. They're 2-5, where Kent State is 3-4 this year. Kent State's underachieving. They just have not played well as well as I thought they would. I do think it's an under type of game. Kent State is 13-4 under this year. They play slow, very poor offensive team. They're good defensively, but I'm taking the points with that revenge factor, plus the 12.5 with Bowling Green.
People are with you. It's 12
here.
now.
12 now, yeah.
Yep, 12 everywhere. So, Ohio 3 at home against Toledo, total 160.
I made it 4.5. No revenge factor. Toledo won both games last year. These two teams are both 5-2 in the conference, and they both played a good conference schedule. They're pretty equal type of teams. I did play it over. I made it 168. They both like to run, especially Ohio, and they're at home. They're going to get up and down, and both defenses are rather average or even below average in Ohio's defense. These teams both score in the upper 70s. They allow points in the upper 70s. We need them to both get into the 80s to win this bet, because it is a high total at 161.5. But I think matched up against each other with the pace, it'll go over.
Has gone down a little bit, 160 here.
Okay.
Before I forget, because a couple other people are checking in with the chat here. So Ryan did jump in there. And then we have Roger as well. And JR said, Happy Tuesday. JR said he's looking for unders. So Cincy and Utah game he's looking at, VCU, St. Louis, and then Central Florida, Kansas. So we will get to those, but just in case that we don't dive into them.
Got a note on VCU in St. Louis.
Okay, very good. Providence is 2.5 on the road, total 132.5.
This is a situational play. What was the side? 2.5 now? Oh boy, I can't really make the case for this anymore because it came down. This morning Providence was 4. I made it 4. I made Providence 4. They played already this year. Providence won 91-85. Seton Hall is 1-8 in the conference. However, they played the second most difficult schedule. This is an okay basketball team. They're an above average college basketball team and well coached with Shanine Holloway. They do play outstanding defense. But I thought the factor was Providence just beat Georgetown and Ed Cooley, their old coach. And I think they put a lot of effort into that. They were focused for it. And now they're playing a team they've already beaten. I thought getting 4 points with Seton Hall was a good play. I don't want to take 2.5, though. I wanted that full 4 points, so passing on that one.
Wow, yeah. Has been a one-way traffic that way. But Seton Hall, they hung around in that one. They only lost by 6. 91-85 was the final of the first matchup.
And surprising it was that high, that many points, because Seton Hall plays slow, and they're a weak offensive team, and they got a very, very good defense. And Providence plays slow. So there's, probably not a lot of possessions in that game, and it still went over. I like under in this one. I made it 127.5, small underplay.
All right, well, that's leaning towards the home team there and their defense instead of taking the points, right? You can play it that way.
What's that?
Going under, and since you don't get the 4 anymore?
Yeah. It's just a small play, a 5-point difference right now.
All right, Miami, Ohio, 10, 153, Eastern Michigan with the revenge.
Yes, they do. They lost both games last year. They are 4-3 in the conference, but Miami of Ohio is 6-1, one of the top teams in the conference, in second place. However, they played a very easy schedule, 12th in the conference. And with that revenge factor, I dropped my 8.5 down to 6. Yeah, give me double digits with Eastern Michigan. I like that play, so I did play them. Just hope they can play a little defense a little better than they have been playing. I like the game over as well because Miami of Ohio does run, and both teams have better offensive numbers than they do defensive numbers. So, and again, in high-scoring games, people have always told me, look for the dog in those really high-scoring games because they don't have good defenses. They score, they give it back up, and that could happen here in this one. So, yeah, I hope it's an 84-78 game, something like that.
How about this SEC matchup? Tennessee, 10.5 at home against Kentucky, 146.5.
Yeah, this will be a good one. Both teams split last year on each other's home court. First year for Mark Pope at Kentucky. He has really done a great job teaching offense. They're one of the best offensive teams in the country, but Tennessee is one of the best defensive teams in the country. The kicker for Kentucky, Kirk Krissa, who was at Arizona, then went to West Virginia last year and had a great year at West Virginia shooting threes, came to Kentucky, was injured in the 9th game after the Gonzaga game. He's missed 10 games now. The team is 6-4 straight up, but 4-6 ATS without him. But I'm amazed they played really poor. The 4-point difference that he makes being in the lineup showed up the first 5 games. But the last 5 games, they played so well. They're now playing as well without him as they were with him. When he comes back, that really should give Kentucky a pretty good boost. They're going to have more depth and more balance in that offense, which they really don't need. They're already the 3rd best team in the conference or in the country offensively. They need to improve defensively. That's where they struggle. And Tennessee just has a better defense. After all of that, I don't have a play in the game. I made it 9.5 and 147.
So you're right there
on
the numbers. What about this SEC game? Georgia, 7.5, total 132.5.
I have 7.5 right there on the side. Both these teams, again, won on each other's home courts. These are big rivals, Georgia and South Carolina. It is a rivalry game. And I made the total 120. I like it under. Both teams have struggled this year, but they both played really good schedules. Georgia's played the toughest schedule in the conference. They're 2-5. South Carolina, the third toughest schedule. They're 0-7. Mm-hmm. They've lost as many conference games as they lost total games last year. Lamont Paris's team had a great year last year, but this year just not as good. Both teams trend to the under. South Carolina 13-7 under. Georgia 13-6 under. They both play slow. They're both way better defensively than they are on the offensive end. So I'm under there again. Made the total 120.
Central Michigan 6.5. Total 144.5 at Buffalo.
Not much there. I made it 6 and 145.5. The one thing I'll tell you is I did look at Buffalo. They're 1-6 in the conference, but they've played the most difficult schedule in the entire conference. Central Michigan's the far better team. They're 3-4. I wanted to try to make a case for Buffalo, so the first thing I looked at was their defense to see if it was better.
Right. It's
not even close. Central Michigan's a far better defensive team. Buffalo just plays crazy. They're fast on offense. They turn the ball over. They struggle defensively bad. So I'll just pass that game. I do lean to Buffalo, but not enough to make it a play.
Lean to Buffalo in that one?
Yeah.
Taking the points. Central Michigan does have revenge.
Do they?
Yes.
I didn't write that down.
I had that Buffalo won at Central Michigan last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Well, then I would adjust that to 8.5, and it's still right there. I don't really, again, we'd be laying points with a bad team
right
there. I have them less than an average college basketball team, Central Michigan. Who they coach, is that Tony Barbie? Yeah, it's Tony Barbie. He's a good coach. This third year there now. They're 8-7 ATS, but I just don't trust them in this spot. I really don't.
Let's see if you have anything in this one. Wake Forest at Louisville. Louisville's a 9-point favorite, total 143.5.
The turnaround of the century, it is just amazing what Pat Kelsey has done. This guy can really coach basketball. From Winthrop to College of Charleston to now Louisville, he turned every program around, and he's done this in his first year. He's won more games already this year than the team won the last 2 years combined. It's just ridiculous how what he's done. They did bring in Wisconsin's point guard, and I think that kind of made the biggest difference for this basketball team, but they're good. But I have 9.5. I lean to to Louisville in this game. They played the most difficult schedule in the ACC, and they're still 8-1. That's how good of a year they've had, that they've played that type of schedule, and they're still right there. They're a game out behind Duke. They play great defense. They can score. They're just a good basketball team. So my number's right there, though. I'm not going to lay it because I don't want to lay that many points. Obviously, there's a letdown coming up for Louisville in one of these games, and Wake Forest is a very good defensive team. So that defense should keep them in the game. My total is a little higher. I'm not going to go over, though.
We might have to see what Louisville's number is then.
Yeah, I don't think they have. I don't think they have enough to get past Duke.
It kind of showed up yesterday what we were talking about, though. Cooper Flag had a terrible first half.
Yeah.
They also were coming off a big emotional game, but they were down to NC State.
Yes, they were at halftime.
Yeah. And at one point they were down by 12. I thought to myself, it's probably a good time to jump in on Duke. They're probably going to come back and win, but I did not jump in. All right, but let's go. Are we on Moorhead State? Moorhead State, 7, 134.5.
Yeah, and this is a revenge game because they've already played this year. Moorhead won at Southern Indiana 70-68. I adjust this down to 3.5. So I think I got 8 earlier, bet this game after my show, Bet the Gambit, and just thought this was a really good spot for Southern Indiana. Moorhead State's 8-2 in the conference, and they have played a really good schedule. They are a good team, but they're a below average basketball team. So even though they're 8-2, I guess you could call them a good team, but they're below average, and I think they'll be happy just to win the basketball game.
And one of those scenarios where they said we already beat you on your home court.
It was a close game, 70-68, but I just don't think they take Southern Indiana. I don't think they give them any credit, knowing that they could win there. They're going to think they're going to win this game, and they probably will. But do they have to cover? No, I don't think so. I think it'll be another tight game.
Here is one of them that is on JR's radar here. So VCU 5.5, 142.5.
Yeah, I made VCU 9 and 139. My numbers are pretty close. Ryan Odom's team is so good. They're one of my good under teams because they play such great defense. But when I looked this up, St. Louis, Josh Schertz is like an offensive guy who came from Indiana State to St. Louis. We all expected overs with him, and all we're getting is under. 15-3 under.
Wow. He
He has the number one defense in A10 play, in conference games. VCU's number 2. You've got the number 1 and number 2 defenses going head-to-head here. They've already played once. VCU won 78-62. I won the under in that game, barely. A really high-scoring first half, and then the second half came very, very low. I think this could come low from the get-go because St. Louis is at home, and that defense should really show up in this game.
Under 142.5.
So, yeah.
And then it was a lean to VCU, but nothing.
Yeah, I don't want to lay. And they've won already. They beat them by 16. I don't want to really
At
lay
home.
points with them on the road.
Okay.
So I'll pass.
Okay, so under, and that is what JR was leaning towards as well. Michigan State 13.5, total 139.5.
I'd like to make a case for Michigan State to win it all at 40-1. But they played the weakest schedule in the conference so far. They're 8-0. They haven't really played anybody yet. They do have a good team. They do have a really good basketball team, and their point guard's a freshman, Jeremy Fears. He's having an outstanding year. Really a good player. He's really made the difference in this team. We will find out, though, how good he is, I think, coming up here in the second half of the season. Minnesota has revenge. They lost at home 90-72 already this year.
Yep.
They lost the conference tournament to Michigan State last year, so it's kind of a double revenge factor. I made the game 9, took 13. Now you can get 13.5. With Minnesota, and we've talked about Minnesota and Ben Johnson before. They're playing extremely slow. They are on the road. Hopefully they can control that pace of this game because Michigan State's looking to run. But my total in this game, 127.5. It's 139. I like it under. I don't know if I like it under more than the side, and I told you I don't like to play both, but I am going to play both in this game because I really can't decide which plays better. If it comes under, we're taking 13.5. It's a good spot. I think it's a good spot for a pizza parlay as well. If you can find a book that'll let you parlay team and total under.
Michigan State is the nation's second longest win streak behind Duke, so they have won 12 in a row. As you mentioned, though, they had a pretty easy conference schedule so far.
Yeah, and let's look at see who they have to play coming up because the one thing. Tom Izzo's a great coach, and he's got more Sweet 16 teams, I think, than anybody. Maybe him and Coach K are right there, but his teams, he's always teaching rebounding and defense, and those are the keys to do well in the tournament. Now he's got an offensive point guard that's one of the better passers in the country. They're a good three-point shooting team. Well, actually, their three-point shooting isn't very good. They shoot they really 28%. The three-point shooting just isn't there. That leaves me off that game. You've really got to shoot threes well. They do shoot their free throws well. One of the best free throw shooting team in the country. But let's see the schedule. How many really tough games do they have? The rest of the schedule is ridiculous because it's a lot of good teams on the road. At USC, at UCLA. Oregon, who's a top 30 team at home. Indiana at home. That's always a rivalry game. Then they got to go to the Illini and Purdue. Oh, they play Purdue at home, but that's a big game. And they finish with a lot of really good basketball teams, top 20 teams. They play Michigan twice, Maryland and Wisconsin. Their only easy game is Iowa, but that's on the road.
That is a brutal schedule down the stretch there for them. So you wanted to make a case for them. Would you just wait?
Excuse me. Yes, you can't bet them. Even at 40-1, you're going to get higher odds, I think, because they have to run a gauntlet.
Yes.
All of February.
Trying to see what they
is
are.
really tough. This is like their easiest game they have the rest of the year tonight. I don't think they're going to cover tonight. So
Projected right now to get a 3 seed though, but we'll see. A lot of games left.
I think that they're 8-0. They should win tonight. They'll be 9-0. I think they could split out the rest of their games. Maybe 6-5 or 5-5 the rest of the season. That will increase their odds. I think so. Not a good time to bet them.
All right, we've got a few more games. Let's get through these and then talk about some of those future odds.
Is it 9:53 already?
It
Wow.
is.
Yeah, let's run.
So Southern Illinois, 1 point favorite, 149.
Made it pick in 162.5.
Ooh.
What are these teams running? Yeah, Valpo's running.
And they won both last year, right?
But yeah, both teams weak defensively. Over trend, Valpo 12-7 over. Let's see if there's any home. They're 6-4 over at home. I really don't have a good feel for that game, but I do have a big enough difference just to make a 1% play on the over because of my numbers. I have to trust the process.
We added Valpo to our board not too long ago. I'm curious if that wasn't over. Okay, here's another one. Kansas, 13.5, 153.5.
Made it 12 and 165.5. I have an overplay. Kansas has always been one of my favorite teams on totals because they always would go over at home and under on the road. This year, a little different. They're 9-3 under in their home games. I have no idea why this has turned around for them. Maybe that's just they're not as good a scoring team as they used to, but I think they're really good offensively. Central Florida is 4-0 over in their true road games, and they play fast. They are better offensively than they are on the defensive end. Kansas is really good defensively. It's a good defensive team.
Very good.
Can Central score against them tonight? That's going to be the question.
So Kansas is coming off of that brutal loss to Houston.
Oh, that's really tough to come off that.
Where they actually had the game, and then Houston forced overtime and then double overtime.
Yeah, that's a really tough game to come off of, a double overtime loss like that. So I would lean to maybe even looking to take the points, 13.5 with Central Florida. It's good. Johnny Dawkins is a good head coach. They are 10-9 ATS, 13-6. They're 3-1 ATS in road games. So they do cover, and they've already played the most difficult schedule in the conference, and they're 4-4. So it's a good basketball team. They're not as good as Kansas, and it is at Kansas, and I give 6.5 points for Lawrence.
I believe it.
So
JR said the Kansas over and under for all the games is 16-3. So
yeah, I had 15-3. Wait a minute. Nope, wrong team I'm looking
at.
I had 16-3.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I have 16-3.
Yeah. Said they're home.
They're home. They were 9-3 under this year. So on the road, they're 7-0 under on the road. There you go. I've always said they were an under road team, and over at home, they are actually 100% under in their road games. So hard to bet a game over when you got that strong of an under trend. But Kansas is off that double overtime. I think maybe Central Florida is the team to look up. Again, if you stick to the process, you'd pass the side and bet the over. And then since it's an over, I could just cross it off. And that's what I'll do. I'm just going to pass that game and see what happens. I think there's a lot going on there. Central Michigan did win the only game last year at home.
Well, but we do always say trends eventually even out. The bookmakers catch up.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And then so that we will start seeing some overs here.
Yeah, we should start seeing some overs from Kansas. And again, over the history, you go back and look, the entire time that Bill Self has been there, 21 years, he's probably 65% over at home and 65% under on the road.
Did he always have this good of a defense?
Never. He's always had great offenses. And this is a good offense, not a great offense. But his defense has been very, very good this year.
All right, let's go to Dayton. 2-point favorite on the road, 135.5.
I have 3 and 142. My number says over, but I don't want to go over because it's two slow down teams. And they both play great transition defense. This will be a game in the low 60s possession-wise, so I'll pass that.
Little Mountain West here. Wyoming's an 8-point favorite, total 139.5. Did you find the revenge in this one?
I did not.
Wyoming won both last year.
Okay. So that is a Fresno. Well, Fresno probably has revenge against everybody, and especially this year. Wahlberg's team just 5-14, but they are covering. They're 12-6 ATS. So if I had my revenge factor in, I would take points here.
Well, I mean, neither of these teams are very good. Yeah, Fresno 1-8, Wyoming 3-6 in Mountain West play. So
Fresno's 5-3 ATS in their road games. I mean, they're hanging in there. They have played the most difficult schedule in the conference.
wow.
So I think taking points with Fresno is okay here.
Taking the points here. All right, let's go Marquette and Butler. Getting the number right now. Marquette is 7.5, total 146.5.
This will be an interesting game. Marquette plays Connecticut next. They're 8-1, tied for the conference lead with St. John's. They've already beaten Butler. They beat them 80-70. The number's right there for me, though. I made it 6 and 149, so I'll pass.
Another Mountain West. Colorado State 16, total 133.
Air Force 0-9 in the conference, but they played a very tough schedule. They played a really tough game against San Diego State, their next to last game, and then they got blown out by Utah. Or Utah State, that was. They lost both games last year to Colorado State. They do have revenge. Made the total. These are rivals. These two are really pretty close in proximity. They're both Colorado-based schools. They are rivals since they are, and the revenge factor, I made it 13.5. I'll take 16.5 in a slow-down game where Air Force is going to try to limit possessions. So hopefully they can. They limit possessions and keep this game a little closer than it should be.
Bettors definitely agree with you. It is 16 now everywhere.
Okay.
So you get 16 in that one. Colorado 2.5, 141.
I made Arizona State 2.5. They do play Arizona next, though, and they've already beaten Colorado. They beat them 81-61. They crushed them. The Buffaloes have not won a conference game, 0-8 in the conference, and they've played a fairly easy conference schedule. Now, Arizona State's only 2-6, but they played a tough conference schedule. With that win, they may have a little letdown, and they're looking ahead to Arizona. I don't know if I play Arizona or not here. I can get 2.5, though, and I made Arizona State the favorite. The number is gone that way, though. The bettors bet it up from 1.5 up to 2.5.
That probably really is just a situational spot. Does Arizona have another game in between their big win yesterday over Iowa State?
Arizona State? This is Arizona State.
I know. I'm just curious. No, so they have time in between, too. Because I was thinking maybe they have a letdown. Arizona State.
But Arizona really doesn't care what Arizona has done. They just know it's Arizona, and that's their biggest game of the year. But at 2-6 in the conference, they need wins, and I think that they're the better team. I think they're the far better team. I'll take 2.5 with Arizona State.
Okay, 2.5. We've got Texas A&M 8.5, 144.5.
They played this year already, and A&M won by 2 at Oklahoma.
Yep.
I made the game 5 with the revenge factor. I like the plus 8.5 with Oklahoma. Porter Moser's a really good head coach. And is his team's defense better? No, they're not. Texas A&M's defense is so good. So
I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to take the dog.
Yeah, I like that spot. The revenge for Oklahoma. He's a good coach. I think he'll keep his team in this game.
Getting 8.5 in that one. Notre Dame's an 8.5 point favorite at home, total 145.
I made it right there. 8.5, 143. No, there's nothing really there. Georgia Tech won they played this year already. Georgia Tech won 86-75. But I don't want to lay points with Notre Dame.
Pittsburgh 2.5 at home, 153 against North Carolina.
I made Pitt 4.5, 154.5, right on the number. It's right there on the number. North Carolina won at home last year, and they won the conference tournament game against Pittsburgh. Yep. So they have, I can't add anything to that. And I really don't want to lay points. I think these are two pretty equal basketball teams. Right now, I thought North Carolina had more talent to start the season. They're 7-14 ATS. They just have not played well. And they played a really weak schedule where Pittsburgh has really been tested. They played the second most difficult schedule in the ACC. I wanted to make a case for them, and I was hoping I could lay 1, but it's not the case. Everybody's too smart. It is 2.5. It's come down. That might be a money line play for me if I look and find a cheap money line on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like that as well, especially with the revenge and where these two are currently. BYU 3.5, total 143.
I'm in at 4 and 133.5. Baylor plays slow. BYU runs, but both teams really good offensive teams. They're much better offensively than they're on the defensive end.
Pick them here
So,
between
I'm gonna pass.
between the Bearcats and Utah. Total 139.
I have Utah 1 and 137.5. I'll pass that.
A little bit of a lean to the under, but not enough to be a play. Gonzaga 14.5. Total 153.
Man, I'm 11.5 and 171.5. Big difference on the total, and that's because the Zags run and they're a great offensive team. Well, Oregon State's a very good offensive team and a little, a weaker defensive school. So I'll go over there. The Zags, another good team that over history, Mark Few's teams have gone over at home and under on the road.
These two definitely went over in the first matchup, but that did go to overtime. 98-89 was the final in that one. And Oregon State won that one.
This year?
This year.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's interesting. The Gonzaga will be fired up for this game. That's good. Hopefully they do it offensively and put up a big number in the first half. Hope they score 50 in the first half.
The Aztecs 14.5, 136.
I'm right there, 14 and 136.5.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. So when we come back, we can talk about some futures. Then we'll get out of here. And
We'll
then
take
we
a
can.
small break and do our whiteboard.
We'll take. Yeah, well, unless we can do all of this in this one break. But I do just want to. So I think. I don't know if a lot of people speak the way we do with over and unders, but we flip-flop it and then we say which way. So you said that Kansas was 16-3 to the under.
Yes.
So that is the same as when people look at it and it's 3-16 over under. So I think we did confuse a few people in there. So I just wanted to clarify that. Does that make sense? Did I do a good job explaining that?
I always say what's higher.
Right.
So if they're 16-3 under, I just say 16-3 under. I like to say the higher number first instead of saying they're 3-16.
Under. Would you still say under there?
I guess, but I've just always said it the other way.
Yeah. Well, and then I've always followed you. So hopefully I have everybody in the chat, Vince, so far. And I'll check in and read some of these comments and make sure. Something about onions on pizza and a lot of topping comments there. Okay, so we'll check in on our break. We're going to take a 2-minute break here so we can knock out our whiteboard. When we come back, we're going to talk about college basketball futures, and then we will give our whiteboard play. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Get ready to laugh with Punchlines with Frank Nicotero. Join Frank and his team of featured guests for your daily dose of comedy.
Reno, the Pittsburgh of the West.
Poison.
Yeah.
Poison.
Sports.
F for Falcons, Alex. We were talking Derek Carr for MVP after 2 games.
Who's we?
Okay, me.
You?
I was.
And the funniest social media posts.
People want to show off their food. Boom. Wiener on a guy's shoulder. It's our Colts. We bleed blue.
It's your one-stop spot for great laughs and a good time. Find us on YouTube at Punchlines FN. And join the chat live weekdays at noon Pacific for the ultimate blend of jokes, sports, and viral fun.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports by the Book, live at the South Point studio. We appreciate everybody in the chat. It is very active today, so love to have you guys there with us, getting ready for our whiteboard. But let's go ahead and jump in with college basketball futures. So we do have a nice graphic here, and these are the top teams that could win the tournament, looking at Auburn and Duke, which are the two favorites right now at plus 350. Next, you've got Houston 9-1, Iowa State 10-1, and then Tennessee and Florida at 12-1. So you went through your power ratings, looking at your top teams and which teams you thought had some value at their current numbers. Eventually, we will go through and look at the final four too. Might push that off till tomorrow. But so, where are you standing? What few teams really jumped out to you?
Out of the top team, well, first let's do this. I went over the prop bet that Chris and Vinny put up, SEC versus the field. So I took the top 9 teams from the SEC, from the South Point odds, and they have a 54.8% chance adding all those up. Then I took the top 14 teams that I thought had a chance to win. I was going to do just the top 9. But then the other 5 were Wisconsin, Michigan State, St. John's, Michigan, and Maryland. I had to add them in because I used Missouri, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Mississippi. So I think there's 4 teams from the SEC who could win it. And if I just use theirs, it would make the odds difference. Anyhow, I added both together, then divided each team's the conference and the field by that total. And I came out to that the field has a 60% chance to win, and the SEC has a 40% chance to win. That's $1.50 favorite.
Okay. And I believe the current number is field minus 160.
160. It's right on.
Does that sound right?
Yes. The math says that's what it should be. So that's a good number. It's a great betting number for the South Point. I think they did a great job putting that number up. All right, teams that have a chance to win.
But if you feel strongly on either side, you're saying that's a fair number. Go ahead and make your bet and take your shot.
It's the right number. I think it's a coin flip.
Right.
Basically. I think you're better off taking the price.
Yeah.
When the coin, well, it's not a coin flip. It's not a 50-50 bet. I say there's a 60% chance that one of the field teams wins the national championship. Okay. The number's right. It's the right number, But if you're going to play something like that, maybe you do take the price and you root for the SEC. They are right now the best conference in college basketball. So the one team I think has a really good chance to win it all out of the top 8-9 teams in the country is Alabama. Nate Oates has an extremely talented basketball team. They're very experienced, a lot of seniors. They do have a couple of freshmen. You need some of that youth, but they're experienced. They have maybe the best guard in the country in Mark Sears. He can do it all. And you want guard play in the, guard play is just so big. And they've got 2 really talented ones with Aiden Holloway, and then LeBron Fillon is a freshman, but he's a really good player. So they have the offense to win it. I think they need to pick up their defense a little bit, but they've shown in the past. Nate Oates in 2023 had a really good defensive team. In 2021, he had a really good defensive team. Last year, it wasn't. I think they're getting better, though, as the year goes defensively. So out of the top 9 teams, Alabama, I think, has the most value at 14-1.
And what do you say? Because they're the fastest team in the country, and Nate Oates just wants them to take as many threes as they can, right? That can only help them as they get closer to the tournament and in the tournament.
When you get a little more half court style of basketball when you get later in the season, because now you're going to be playing against teams who are very, very good defensively. Let's see how many teams. That's a good question. I know we got to go. They've played A&M and Mississippi, who are really good defensively. They played Houston, and they beat Houston 85-80. They played the Illini, who's very good defensively. They beat them 187. The one game they lost was to Mississippi, who's a good defensive team. They got 90 against Texas A&M. This team can really score. So, and again, I think I had them number 1 to begin the season in my ratings. I think I'm right around number 8, 9 right now because of how they played with 3 losses. They're not bad losses. The first one was their first road game at Purdue. They lost. They lost a neutral court game. Let's see where that was. Here in Vegas. They lost to Oregon by 2 points. And then they lost a home game to Mississippi. Other than that, they've been perfect.
How is the rest of their schedule coming up?
Disastrous.
Okay.
All tough. They're in the SEC, so every game is a tough game. They don't have an easy game the rest of the year. So, but
it'll be interesting when they play Tennessee.
Yeah, that'll be a great game.
I will say, though, I was looking at the bracketology projections, and they are projected to get a 1 seed as of right now.
Alabama.
Yeah. And then I was looking at how many 1 seeds have won it all. 6 of the last 7. UConn being the one exception in 2023. They were a 4 seed. Last year, they were a 1 seed again, of course. So something to keep an eye on as well.
So that looks like a good play to me. And now you're telling me they're projected to be a 1 seed and you can get 14-1 on a 1 seed. You're not going to get that in March. There's no chance. And if they with schedule they play, if they play really well against this final schedule and they win 8 out of the 12,
right,
they're going to end up being right there at the top of the conference, and you'll probably only be able to get 8-1 or 6-1 on them at that point.
So 14-1, good number. I like that one a lot. I liked Alabama a lot last year, so I wouldn't mind having a ticket on them this year.
2 long shots. I just mentioned a team that Alabama lost to, Purdue. Purdue is really good. They have 2 really good players on their team. They've got 2 really good guards but Braden Smith, the point guard, is one of the best passers in the country and a really good 3-point shooter. Fletcher Lawyer is a really good 3-point shooter. Their big guy inside, Kaufman Penn, does so many things well. They're experienced. They've played a tough schedule, one of the toughest schedules in the country, and they're in one of the best conferences in the country. They can score against anybody. They defend. Matt Painter, has had his team with deep runs in the NCAA tournament. So these guys have experience, and you're getting 60-1 with them. This team's making the Sweet 16. They might be an Elite 8 team.
Ooh.
So there's your one that, I don't know if they can win it all, but I think they can get to the Elite 8.
Can I interest you in 10-1 to make the Final Four?
Yeah.
Yeah,
why not? 10-1's a good price, I think, the Final Four. The other team is BYU. This is another very experienced basketball team. Now they're playing in the Big 12, so they do play an outstanding schedule. They're one of the most experienced teams in the country. Most of these, a lot of the guys are older, but they're led by a freshman, Edgar Denon, and he's a big kid that is a really good passer from the post. He's a rim protector, but overall as a team, this is a really good offensive team. They do play some good defense, not great defense. That scares me a little bit, but at 200-1, I think they have a chance to make the Sweet 16.
My only other concern and question is, where did Kevin Young come from? Because what kind of experience does he have?
This is his first year as a head coach. I believe he was an assistant there, and that would be definitely a point of consideration that
in the tournament.
Yeah, that you have a coach that's inexperienced, being the head guy. They're playing some good basketball. They just beat up Cincinnati by 28 at home, who's got a good team. Their losses are to Mississippi, Houston, Texas Tech, Utah, who's a rival, and they lost by 1 in overtime. TCU, they lost by 4. Providence is their only bad loss. And that was at Providence. So they do have a really difficult schedule coming up. We'll see if they can handle that schedule. If they do, they might be a team to look at. I think you could hold off on betting them right now. It's 200-1. You'll probably get 200-1 in a couple of weeks as well. But Purdue, I don't think you'll get 60-1. I think they're too good. I mean, they got 2 of the best 10 players in the country on their team. That's how good they are. This is a good Purdue team. And Matt Fletcher, and we mentioned the coach on BYU not having experience. Well, we know Matt Painter's got plenty of experience coaching teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, well, not to mention a bad taste in his mouth coming off of a loss in the championship game.
The other one would be Michigan State, being undefeated in the conference at 40-1, and have another coach that we know he can get that far. Purdue and Michigan State, though, from the same conference.
So really quick, though, Kevin Young is coming. He came over from the NBA.
Oh, did he?
Yes. Phoenix Suns for 5 years and Philadelphia 76ers. So associate head coach, too, for the Phoenix Suns from 2021 to 2024.
Well, he's done a nice job with this team, especially offensively.
Michigan State, we said we were going to wait on them, though, right? Is that the team that has a tough
they've
schedule?
got a tough schedule, yeah. We can wait on them. But I think you get Purdue right now. I wouldn't even take the 200-1 on BYU. That's a good basketball team. We'll see.
And you want them to get into the dance, and then you have some hedge.
Oh yeah, 200-1. You've got a lot of opportunities with them.
Okay, so last thing before we get out of here, and we can go through the Final Four more tomorrow. But I'm curious on your thoughts on Alabama's only plus 250 to make it to the Final Four. So Auburn and Duke are minus 120, minus 115, and then Alabama's plus 250. Iowa State plus 180. Is that just because of money coming in and because they have been there, or they just were there last year?
Well, remember there's four
teams
that make it. So the odds are cut in fourth.
Right.
Of what these are.
Right.
So if we looked at these, Duke should be about even money or minus 120 to make the Final Four, and
Correct.
Auburn the same.
Correct. Yes.
Houston should be plus 250.
Houston is plus 160.
So that's a bad number. You're not getting the best of it.
And then what about Alabama?
Alabama, I would say like plus $3.
Okay, so that's close. Plus 250.
Yeah.
Okay.
Houston might be the one team that I really look at too, at 10-1. I have on my number one team in the country right now. So at 10-1, my best team in the country, I've got to make a bet on Houston. They're one of the best defenses in the country. We know that. We're going to see that. They're used to half-court style of basketball. They have great experience in the tournament. They just haven't been able to get over that hump, and now they may have the talent to do it. So I'm going to go in with today and bet Houston, Purdue, and BYU, and Alabama. 4 teams.
4 teams.
That'll be my 4 teams I go with. Doesn't mean I won't add to them, and it doesn't mean I won't hedge.
Somebody did ask, though, in the chat, I'm sorry, about Kansas, right?
Yeah. Close. I was really close to pulling the trigger on that at 25-1 with Bill Self.
Yeah.
They were probably next on my list because at 25-1, I think Kansas is a team that is going to be in the Sweet 16, and then with their pedigree and their background and their success in the tournament, Bill Self's success in the tournament, they can get there. And their schedule isn't all that daunting. They've got 5 or 6 games that'll be easy towards the end. They finish with a tough ending, Texas Tech, Houston, and Arizona, but 2 of the 3 are at home. And their defense is one of the best in the country, and you still got Hunter Dickinson on the inside. They got inside-outside scoring. Their three-point shooting isn't great. That's the one thing that if they had better three-point shooting, we wouldn't even be talking about them because they would be in the top 3 in the country. That's what's holding them back is their three-point shooting.
Looking at them to make the Final Four is 8-1. You said 25-1?
25. That's not bad. 8-1. I think that's looking at bets. If you're going to make a Kansas bet, that might be the bet to make is 8-1 on them.
All right. Well, we'll dive into this more tomorrow as well. Are we doing any more NFL, or are we waiting till next Monday?
We'll see. Well, maybe we can get a sheet. We'll find out what Chris and his team have put up here at the South Point, and then take a look at some of those.
Perfect. So a little bit of Super Bowl props, more college basketball. We do need to start looking at some hockey futures as well.
Yes.
And, of course, today's action, as we always do. Vince, thank you so much for all the notes in here. I think I got to everything JR had asked. Dean Hilt did join in late, so welcome. Dean, we appreciate you being here. And now it is time for our place, since we're already 22 minutes over.
Wow, long show today. All right, I'll go first real quick. 3 plays for me today. Georgia under 131. That's against South Carolina, 2 good defensive teams. I like Minnesota plus the 13.5. And then the Zags, I got to go over. I think they have a big game. That revenge factor will be nice. Low total. They're a high-scoring team at home. They run. They score. They're going to get a big lead, which will lead to maybe less defense in the second half. So over in the Zags game. And then I will have the dog of the day for punchlines today at noon.
So I've got 3 hockey. I've got the Jets and the Canadiens over 6. It's just minus 105. I've got VGK minus 120 at home against the Stars. I've got the Rangers plus 115. And then I've got 2 basketball. I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. We are taking the points here plus 8.5 against Texas A&M. And then I am jumping on and following your Zags over there in that one. We got to turn it around because we're a little bit hit or miss when they both make our board. We don't want it to be a bad thing, like automatically take the other side. So yesterday was bad because Grambling.
Yeah, but overall, since the beginning of the year, we have a very good record. So I know we have a winning record. So.
Yes, we will check on those too because January is coming to an end here. So we will give you an update. So thank you, everybody, again, for sticking around. Sorry that we were over a little bit and appreciate all of you in the chat. Everybody behind the glass, thank you. Again, we'll be back tomorrow here at the desk, 9 a.m. Sports by the Book. We'll see you then.